Jai Sri Krishna. Let's start discussion on the topic that's a global AML and CFT standard, which navigating the international compliance, how the international level compliance will work, and what are the international body that are part of the AML and CFT standard on the global level. So let's discuss on this video in detail, guys. So let's first I'll give you the introduction on the what is the AML and CFT, and then discuss on why it is a critical, and then we move further on the next slides. So let's first discuss on the anti-money laundering. What is an anti-money laundering and why it is an exist? So the anti-money laundering is the technique, or it is the way where we are preventing the front from illegal activities like drug trafficking and frauds from being clean and appealing the legitimated. So the financial criminals, if they are earn their money from illegal activities or from the fraudulent activities, and they want to clean such money and to use this money for to live as a lavish, to buy the homes or the the bike or the cars, and they shows the government it is and the clean money, and they earn this money and the most appropriate way. So we do to do the to prevent this thing, and the financial criminals to do such activities. So that's we call as a anti money laundering. And let's discuss on the countering the financing of terrorism. So there is there is many institution NBOs, hidden NBOs, or they are collecting fund with a legal way or illegal way, and they provide that funds to the criminals or the terrorist activities. So we prevent such kind of activities, and regardless of their sources, whenever they earn and being used to the finance terrorist activities. So the if we allow the terrorists to in the financial system, so it is easy them to move the funds and to do the terrorist activity and to buy the weapons, and to do the to complete such tasks. So we identify such hidden patterns, so we are countering and we are not prevent to the financing of terrorism. So these are the most two things which stand for the AML and CFT. So let's discuss on why it is a critical to protect the integrity and stability of the global financial system, and to make the customers, their funds are in the safe hands and the safe things. So it is combat the serious crime and the national security of threat, and it is an the very important part, if we consider the national security threat and secure the assets of that country, and it is to prevent the financial institution from being used uh, as a for the illicit fund, and to do the illicit fund transactions. And also it helps to to get high penalized by the regulators. So these are the things is there. So let's move on the next topic, that is the global standard setter. So there are the body which on the global level work, which we call the financial action task force. So it is the independent and intergovernmental body that sets the international standard and promotes the effective implementation of legal and regulated operations measure to combating money laundering and terrorist financing and other threat related to that. So they are work on to identify the new techniques or new methodologies what that is used by the financial criminal, and to define the set rules and regulations and the operational measures they can identify, and how the most effective way we can eliminate such activities. So they release some guidelines. So on that basis, bank need to improve their systems, or the financial institution we need to improve their systems. The financial action task force recommendation are foundational for the national anti-money laundering and counter terrorist financing frameworks, and that will help to improve the efficiency in their the systems. So the FA the Financial Action Task Force 40 recommendations. So they are recommended 40 things. It is and the comprehensive set of measures that continuous countries should implement to protect their financial systems and to do the international level transactions and to make sure their the financial system are secure and more work on the appropriate way and the customer funds are in the secure hand, and they are the benchmark against which the countries are assessed for that the system. So it is an independent body which work on the international level. So let's discuss on the core AML and CFT principles. So there are the two principles, now there are the more principles, but we are discuss on the two principle. First one is a risk based approach, and third second one is a customer due diligence. So let's discuss on what is an the risk based approach. So there are the different types of customer within the bank. So and it is not it is difficult to treat all the customers that within the bank to do the same risks or the same approach that all the customers. So the bank will filtration apply the filtration on their the customer data or the the customer due diligence on the customer profiling and where that customer is work, what are the customer occupation, on the geographic behavior of location of that customer. So the customer define it is on the medium risk customer, high risk customer, or the low risk customer. So that will help the financial institution to filter that customer and apply the rules and the business logic with that customers. And it is help to financial institution to reduce the false positive rates in that bank, and the that will save the cost of human interaction on such system. So the resource should be allocated and mitigated the highest risk efficiency. So that's the things they use the risk based approach. And the less the customer due diligence, which we call CDD, the the foundational element of anti-money laundering, and which is the customer due diligence, and it is an involved identifying and verifying the identity of customer and understand the purpose and intensive nature of that business relationship of that customer while they are doing the customer due diligence, and that will help them. And it include the more rigorous process enhance the customer due diligence for high risk customers. So they take more data for the customer, they identify it is and the PIP customers, political exposed customer, or the more the risk customer. So they will do that things. And let's move on the next slide, that is the key compliance mechanism which used by the banks or the financial institutions. So first one is a transaction monitoring. So the banks or the financial institution do or automate the system or the manual reviewer for the customer transaction, or to detect the anomaly or the hidden pattern in the customer transactions, to identify the suspicious transaction or the genuine transaction between the customers, and to report that customer behavior to the compliance team. So they will use and detect the unusual and the suspicious pattern that might indicate the money laundering and terrorist financing done by the customer by implementing the rules of that system, or by implementing the AIML techniques that can identify the suspicious pattern of that customer's behavior. And then the suspicious transactions reporting. So it is an also one of the important thing that obligate the financial institution to report an suspicious activity to the financial intelligence unit or the central bank. So they file that the activity in the suspicious transactions report, which is written by the financial institution unit or the bank and submit to the financial institution unit. So they are the financial intelligence unit define some standard mechanism or the standard format of the STR on the country level. So accordingly they need to fall, and there is a one of the standardized format. This is a GoML format, so that need to adopted by the banks or the financial institutions or the broker firms. So let's move on the next part, that is the obtain, protect, the safe harbor and provisions to encourage the reporting without the fear and the legal actions which is taken by the criminals. So let's sanctions and the watch list screening. So screening customer and the data transaction against the international sanction list, which is provided by the World Check or the UN or OFAC or the other UN bodies. They release the sanction screen or the sanctions list of the customers or the entities, which release on the weekly basis or daily basis. So accordingly, they can update their the sanction screen to prevent the dealing with the sanctions individual and the entities, and to do the appropriate the transaction monitoring system. So let's discuss on the next slide, which is the challenges of international compliance that need to be adopted by the bank. So first one is a jurisdiction complexity. So each the law of jurisdiction vary significant from one country to other country, and each country has their own law and the rules and regulations and the criminals activities and their the different things. So they need to update their regulatory requirements and the law and the jurisdiction as per that country level. So it is one of the challenges at to manage such thing at the international level. And the compliance team must navigate the complex web and overlapping and something conflict requirement and adopt some things in there the systems. And then the involving the trades, there is the involving different kinds of the trade, that criminal are constantly developing new methods of to do the criminal activity or to transact the funds, to interact with the banking system to clean their funds and to do the terrorist financing, and which is leveraging the new technology like cryptocurrency and the sophisticated digital tools to money laundering or to launder the money and to use the banking or the financial system to clean the money. And it require the continuous adoption and the proactive approach and update the new technologies in the transaction monitoring system or in the payment screening system or it is and the name screening system, and to adopt the new international compliance within the system to increase the customer satisfaction and to identify the fraudulent transaction or the suspicious transaction or the suspicious behavior of the customer by using the banking system and the data management and the technology. It is an very important and and the very needful to manage the vast amount of custom and the transaction data is it is in the significant challenge for the bank and the international compliance level to identify the suspicious pattern or the suspicious behavior in the customer nature. And the legacy system and the lack of interpretability and can create the gaps in the compliance system, and there will be help to make the connection between the different system to enhance the and to reduce the such challenges on the international compliance team. So let's move on the next slide, that is the navigating the future of AML and CFT. So what are the techniques we use which will be look like the futures of the AML and CFT? So embracing the RegTech. So using the advanced technology like artificial intelligence, machine learning to enhance the risk assessment and the transaction monitoring system, and to update the transaction monitoring by using the artificial intelligence, by the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, or semi-supervised learning, or the deep learning methodology to upgrade the system with machine learning techniques, and can improve the efficiency and accuracy, reducing the false positive rate within the system, and that will the interaction between the compliance team of the bank and the financial intelligence unit and the central bank, or the reporting of the suspicious activity report or the suspicious transaction report or the cash transactions report. So strengthening the global cooperation. So the compliance will increase the strengthening between the global cooperation and sharing the information between the jurisdictions and international institutions is a crucial for combating the transactional financial crime, and it will help us to reduce the criminal behavior and identify the criminal behavior patterns. And the financial action task force and other bodies continue to push for the greater international collaboration and increase the collaboration between different countries and make sure they are on the same page. And the culture and the compliance, beyond the rules and regulation, building a strong organizational wide culture of compliance is essentials. And the rules and regulations are very important while work on the AML and CFT monitoring systems, and it is an essential to the include the robust training program and leadership committee to the ethical standard which manage and the international compliance level, and which can manage on the multinational level. So let's discuss on the last slides, which is and the conclusion. So AML and the CFT compliance is no longer just a regulatory burden, but it is and the critical element for the global financial and integrity and the security managed in the financial systems that will work there. So let's the next point, the international standards set by the Financial Action Task Force provide a necessary framework, but navigating them require a strategic and adaptable approach which will help the international level or the international compliance team and adopt the standard or the necessary element which assigned by the Financial Action Task Force. And the success depend on the combination of strong internal control and the smart use of technology and a commitment on the global cooperation between the different countries and the cross-border transactions. So these are the end of these slides. If you have any open point on that slide, and if you want more understanding related on this topic, so do comments. And if you like my efforts and my videos, please do like and subscribe my channel, so that will motivate me to create such and videos for you. So thank you so much guys.